Welcome to the TNE podcast. This is a short recording of an interview I conducted this morning with Sonia Poulton on her morning radio program. We discuss Elon Musk and his involvement in UK politics and whether indeed he's looking to achieve regime change in the United Kingdom.
Let's bring in Jeff Peel. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Great, Sonia. How are you? And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too, Jeff. Jeff Peel, of course, has been with us many times. I trust what Jeff has to say about a whole load of stuff, including what we're going to discuss today. He is the editor of The New Era, brilliant commentator. I want to talk with you about Elon Musk, Jeff, and I'm not even really sure where to start because Elon Musk seems to be at the center of so much at the moment. It's almost like there's Elon Musk and the world is all moving around him. So let's talk about it. Obviously, yesterday, the big thing was where he removed his support from Nigel Farage. But this has been the sort of the end point, although he's still continuing on about all manner of things, but the end point after 2 weeks of what appears to be Elon Musk madness. Take it away, wherever you want to start on this.
Yeah, it's all very strange. I think we knew this outcome was going to happen because, of course, there are two diametrically opposite positions vis-a-vis Farage and Musk. Because obviously, I wrote down before coming onto this call sort of Musk's apparent end game. Some of his objectives, obviously, carbon reduction. There's the Tesla thing and so on. The destruction of European energy supply seems to be an objective. The dollarization project, making the dollar great again. All the hypocrisy around H-1B visas, making everything have an IP address so it can be controlled and managed. In other words, all of the stuff that Farage you would expect to oppose. So when I heard obviously about Farage schmoozing around Mar-a-Lago, I thought, this isn't going to work out well in the end. Of course, this is assuming that all of this isn't a psyop. And of course, we don't know these days what's a psyop and what isn't. But clearly the positioning of Farage on a number of these sort of issues, these immutable issues that Musk has put his weight behind, would mean that ultimately the relationship would founder. But also Farage's relationship seemed to be with Musk and the MAGA project. And there does appear to be a bit of a schism. Now, again, this may all be controlled hangout. It may be that everybody participating in these discussions is an actor to some extent, and they're having their strings pulled. But if we just take it at face value, clearly the relationship with Musk and Farage was going to founder, and Farage was going to clearly align, if indeed there is a schism in the MAGA project, was going to align with Trump. I don't know if you said that it's been doing the rounds that Trump did a speech where he was refuting, allegations that Musk was the de facto president, and it was a rambling load of nonsense. But it sort of proved that perhaps actually Musk is the de facto president because, frankly,
you have to wonder. He appears to have inordinate power and influence, first of all, which is a bit troubling because he doesn't. As Judge Judy would say, he doesn't appear to be the full packet in some respects because something is definitely amiss there. Yeah. His behavior is that of a teenager, and so that's quite weird, obviously. But just let's go back to what was happening. So Christmas, Boxing Day, there was all the fallout to do with the H-1B. And now that is where America allows people from other territories, from foreign territories, to come in on the basis that they are the best of the best, right? And in order to make America better. But it actually turns out that Musk has been stocking his companies, Neuralink, Tesla, etc., with primarily men from India who are not necessarily the best of the best, but they are cheap labor. Is that part of the problem? Because the backlash from the MAGA supporters was so great that then Musk started removing all their ticks. I mean, it was astonishing, wasn't it? Pick that up for us.
Yeah, so the H-1B visa program means that people can come to the United States, but they have to work for a particular employer that sponsors them. So once they arrive in America, and in fact, I have to confess, I actually worked in America for a couple of years under an H-1B visa, but it means that you can only work for that employer. It's very difficult to
Right.
change employer.
Right.
So you become effectively a slave.
Yeah.
Because I was lucky, I was quite well paid, but a lot of Indian developers, particularly Indian, by the way, it mostly is Indian, developers come to the United States. They work for one employer. Often they send money back home to the family and so on, but they become effectively slaves to that organization. And yet this is juxtaposed with Musk at the border, claiming that he didn't want illegal immigrants to come
What
into the
was it?
United
Mass
States.
deportations on day one, he was
Absolutely.
saying.
Yeah. But of course, it seems to be perfectly okay for people to come and work. And of course, Musk is on record as saying that he wants his employees to be slaves. In effect, he wants people to work 18-hour days, to be at their desks all the time, to come into the office, none of this home working nonsense, and to work like dogs. But he certainly doesn't want any illegal immigrants. But the other thing is, it's about command and control.
Indeed,
if you're working in the United States under an H-1B visa, your employer owns you and owns your life and longevity in employment. And once they dispense with your services, you have to go back to where you came from. It's very difficult to stay if you haven't got a sponsoring employer. So this seemed to be the ultimate hypocrisy. On the one hand, standing at the border saying, oh, all these terrible immigrants are coming in. And at the same time saying, oh, but we're quite keen on slave labor. And I suppose I would say Farage in particular was one person who would see right through that hypocrisy.
Right, exactly, because that has been Farage's thing for a very, very long time. So obviously the backlash was immense and intense, like I say, to such a degree that people were literally having their blue ticks removed by Elon Musk, which showed once and for all that X is absolutely not a free speech platform. And if anybody laboring under that misapprehension is surely now woken up to that. But then Musk did what Musk does very well, and that was he switched the subject, didn't he? He immediately focused his gaze on great trauma in the UK. The issue of grooming gangs has been great trauma in the UK for us. And he focused his gaze on it. Now, on the one hand, I have to say, brilliant. Let's make it absolutely international so people realize what's been going on. But then you have all these people who have no care or concern truly about child abuse, leaping in and wanting to get involved with it and using it for political gain. What were your thoughts on when he turned his attentions to grooming gangs, Jeff?
Well, he's a bit of a Johnny come lately in terms of this
and
issue.
Some.
The grooming gangs issue, and obviously it was a dreadful period in UK history. The fact that these grooming gangs were allowed to operate effectively with full knowledge of the authorities has been kind of hijacked now as being an anti-Islamic rant.
Right.
So again, it's become a focus for the anti-Islam tribal division.
Zionists are leaping on it with great joy, aren't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is the issue with Musk. He is not prepared to come out and condemn the horrific slaughter in Gaza. What happened in Syria, where effectively Al Qaeda was funded by the American establishment to oust Assad in Syria. So we've got mayhem implemented in Syria. We have mayhem in Gaza. We have Israel running amok. And of course, the entire Trump cabinet is pure play Zionist. And of course, Musk won't come out and say anything about it. So it seems to be very much focused on tribal division. And of course, where is he going to choose as his next target, namely the United Kingdom? And of course, he'll rally all of the Zionist troops like Douglas Murray and so on to add weight to this argument.
They love this.
It's so transparent what's going on there. How
really
people can't get it is beyond me.
Yeah,
but,
and it's really important for people to understand we are not pro grooming gangs around here, not at all. That's ridiculous. And the moment that you question why, like when I start to see the Tates offering money to support some sort of inquiry into grooming gangs, I want to vomit. We are really through the looking glass when people like the Tates think that they can get involved in something like this. But that tells you what is going on X, doesn't it? It tells you so much.
Absolutely. And of course, Tate has come out today and said that to say that he wants to be the next UK prime minister. He's going to run for prime minister. you know, even that indicates that the guy doesn't even know our system of government.
I know. It's really embarrassing. But yesterday, I think things really sort of reached a head, didn't they? Obviously, and a lot of it is to do with Tommy Robinson. It would appear Musk appears to support very much Tommy Robinson, who at this moment in time is in prison. And it would appear under very dubious, questionable circumstances. Don't get me wrong. He's in there for contempt of court, right? And you cannot be in contempt of court. Trust me. I've been interviewed by the police before for alleged contempt of court, and it's not pretty. And it does actually come from the Attorney General. And I hear people who are trying to muddy the water saying things like, oh, the Attorney General have got involved. When it's contempt of court, the Attorney General always gets involved. But yesterday it was very interesting, of course, because it appeared that Musk finally lost his patience with Farage. We've seen the build up to it. I wonder if I've got the tweet here. Is this the tweet? The Reform Party needs a new leader. Farage doesn't have what it takes. What does that mean exactly? But what a huge statement.
Yeah, well, I think what it's come down to is the fact, you know, I've been very critical of the Reform Party and Farage and the fact that Farage sort of rode back and took over leadership of the party but the result was actually a huge increase in popular support at the general election. But Farage is a very, very slick and very intelligent operator. Right. And he knows how the United Kingdom works. And to give him his due, he has never resorted to anti-Islamic rhetoric. He objects to immigration.
He's full of dog whistles, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he sees straight through this tactic, I believe, and obviously he stood up to a degree to the sort of Zionist warlords in the Trump cabinet. You know, it is clear that there is an agenda building, and you know, some of the other thing. You know, I talked about the dollarization project. You know, Howard Lutnick, now the new U.S. Secretary, really going hammer and tongs to try to create a dominant dollar narrative, so that the dollar becomes the world's the global currency in effect, and it's being driven through in South America. It's being driven through by Lutnick in terms of sort of shady circles, you know, dealing in cryptocurrencies and criminal gangs and all sorts of stuff. And of course, he is the main channel of US debt. And I think that the next target nation for the dollarization project might just be the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And if there is one thing that will upset Farage more than anything, it is anybody challenging the sovereignty of the UK currency. Ooh. And he is a financially articulate individual. And I think that that it may well have been that there has been some degree of angst caused by some of these initiatives emerging from the Trump cabinet, a cabinet which I would imagine has been handpicked by Musk and his handlers, because again, there's a big question mark over, for example, Musk's relationship with Epstein and Musk's relationship with the CIA. So we really do need to give Farage some credit for seeing through a lot of this BS.